Am I good, Adam, or am I waiting? Okay. All right, we're going to call the meeting to order at 6:30. Would everyone rise for the pledge, please? Oh, it's now behind us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. All right, board members, please make sure your mics are on. Thank you. Let's see, first thing is, we've done the pledge. Let's do a roll call. Andy, will you take us through that?
Jason Stein. Present. Jason Snyder.
Here.
Cheyenne Hoffa.
Here.
Amanda Jeschke.
Here.
Brittany Layton.
Here.
Nathan Stradevant.
Here.
And Dan Justus.
Here.
All right, first thing up on our agenda tonight is for our newest member, Dan, welcome, to take the oath of office that will be administered by Andy.
Okay.
Stand up.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead and raise your hand. I, Dan Justus.
I, Dan Justus.
A plan commission appointee of the town council. Do solemnly swear. That I will faithfully perform. The duties of my appointed office. And will support. And honor to the best of my ability. All applicable laws of the state. And to the town of Fortville. As well as the governing rules. Policies. And procedures and conditions. I hereby affirm. That I will perform. The duties of this public trust. In a fair. Equitable. And ethical manner. According to the law. So help me God.
All right. It's official. Thank you. Next on our agenda is, now that we have a full board, it is time for our annual selection of the president and the vice president. We have a vacancy in the president, so do I have any nominations for president position?
I would make a motion to nominate Amanda.
I'm going to decline. Any others?
I will make a motion to nominate Nathan.
Do we have any other nominations? All right, I will close the nomination. Now I'm looking for a board member to second that.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Aye.
Seriously?
I don't know if I can vote for myself.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Sorry, this is not something I do very often. Okay, yeah, I don't know how that works.
Maybe.
Alex?
It's still a 4-0. Yeah.
It's 4-0. Okay, all right. So motion carries. All right, so we have a new president.
Wants it or not.
Then Nathan, now that you're president, I think you need to nominate the vice president
Oh,
because they come up every year.
okay.
Excuse me, the vice president is chosen by the entire commission.
Okay. So it's the same process.
Correct, the same process. Yes. I'm sorry, I was a little confusing. Okay. So,
I'll nominate Amanda. You want, or is that a decline there as well?
oh no, that's not a decline. I'll stay where I'm at. That's fine. Okay,
I'll second.
all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So Nathan, do you want to finish up this meeting or do you want me to?
Doesn't matter to me. I don't know if there's an official.
Yeah, do we
Alex.
hand it over at this point or what?
Yep, I'd hand it over.
Okay,
All right.
we don't do this every day.
Yippee. We're training wheels for a few of these, but
Perfectly fine.
we'll get there. So next we will move to new business. The only case before us tonight, case number 07 STP 2022 Scooters Coffee Site Plan. First, I will hand it over to Adam to give us the official report.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. For the record, I'm Adam Zaklakowski, the Planning and Building Director for the town of Fortville. Bear with me one second while we open this up. All right, the only case on tonight's agenda involves a project that's proposed at 709 West Broadway Street called Scooters Coffee. Broadway Street, of course, is also known as US 36 and State Route 67. And the zoning on the property is commercial neighborhood, CN, and it's within what's called the corridor overlay in our zoning ordinance. And simply put, Dave and Donna Ayala of Fishers would like to construct and operate a Scooters Coffee franchise. And the chain is based in Omaha, Nebraska, and is expanding into Indiana. Scooters recently purchased the property, or an affiliate. The planned 884 square foot building would be located west of the BP gas station, which is under construction right now. And this project would be a drive-through only location. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the site. This property has been a vacant gas station for many years. So we're here tonight. The applicant is seeking concept site plan approval. And it also includes approval of concept building elevations and lighting and concept landscape. If we take a look at the aerial on the parcel map, you can see the property outlined in blue. It's on the north side of Broadway. It abuts Old State Road 67 on the north. And of course, beyond that are the CSX railroad tracks. Off to the east is that BP gas station under construction. And over to the southeast is the Vernon Township offices. So this is really on the western gateway. Folks entering the western boundary from the west would come up to this site. And again, if we take a look at the oblique aerial, you can see what's there today. Certainly, if we need to refer back to any of these, we can during the presentation. If we look at the zoning map, as I mentioned, it's commercial neighborhood, which is the lowest intensity commercial zoning. The use, by the way, of this as a coffee shop is permitted outright for this in this particular zoning district, so they don't need a special exception or anything like that. And you can see that it is, of course, on a commercial corridor, surrounded for the most part by CN zoning, and then off to the south, there's a property that has some grandfathered zoning of business-1. Very similar to CN. We do have some ground photos of the site. You can see the old pole sign that would be there, or that would be taken down. You can see the old convenience store in the background. And there is that western point as you come into town. And then this is the actual pavement from Old State Road 67. Which dates back to probably the 1930s, if not a bit earlier. All right, so here's the concept site plan that they are looking to approve tonight. And we're going to go through the analysis. I think each of you were provided a copy of it, so if you need to refer to that, you certainly can. So in terms of the review, here's a basic overview of the typical review items per the zoning ordinance. The project did go to the Technical Advisory Committee in December 2022 for review. And that included Planning Department, Public Works / Town Manager. It included the town engineer, Triad consultants, as well as the county surveyor and the Vernon Township Fire Department. In terms of access for the project, that's one important aspect that we take a look at. They're proposing one access point to Broadway, and that would reduce the current access down from 3 points on Broadway today. So certainly much safer access points are being proposed. And of course, they will need to acquire an NDOT permit for that. Old State Road 67 is currently a dead-end town street. However, the BP gas station off to the east designed a connection to it as a secondary access point, mainly for fueling trucks. And this project would repave Old State Road 67 to continue that access. There are also town utilities near the BP access point that the town needs to have access to. So it was really collaboration between the town staff and scooters on what to do with that particular roadway. And at their February 16th meeting, the Redevelopment Commission agreed to fund the repaving of Old State Road 67, as well as its relocation to a 90-degree intersection at Broadway, which would provide for safe access. And the RDC agreed to fund the project, which is approximately $100,000 from TIF cash funds. Lastly, in terms of access, for pedestrian access, a path would be extended from the BP along Broadway to Scooter's access sidewalk. The path would not be extended to the west property line, as it was our belief that it would not connect to anywhere in the future. And there are no plans to continue that path on the north side of Broadway near the railroad tracks. This particular exhibit here was something that Joe did a nice job of putting together, and it shows how the BP project would come together with this coffee shop proposal. And you can see, if you can follow the cursor here, here's kind of that almost like an alley service road that is along the railroad tracks that would provide that secondary access to BP. And then it would come down to a 90-degree point at Broadway. So much safer access, and it cleans up the property and the existing roadway that's there. The other items that we look at, of course, are the setbacks and lot coverage. Along the south, that's a front setback. They have to be at least 20 feet away from the right-of-way line. No issues there. The north side along Old State Road 67, that's technically it's to the rear of the site, but it's technically a front setback because there's right of way. So it's a minimum of 20 feet as well. And then on both sides, they have to have a minimum of 10 feet. And this is from the structure to the property line. So certainly no issues with any of that. And then just for reference, the maximum lot coverage, which would be all the paved surfaces plus the roof footprint, cannot exceed 75% per the zoning ordinance. So no issues with that either. I also wanted to mention, as part of the review, when we're trying to determine setbacks, we always take into consideration the town's adopted thoroughfare plan. In this particular case, there's no new right-of-way that's being dedicated because it's already in place. They're showing a 50-foot half-street right-of-way, or 100 feet of full street right-of-way, which is required for Broadway for any new development. It's noted as a major arterial in the plan. So items such as a walking path, curb street, street trees would be provided as required per the thoroughfare plan. Quick overview on drainage. The site is fairly flat. A preliminary drainage report has been provided to the Hancock County Surveyor's Office for review. Required on-site detention is being provided via a pond at the northeast corner of the site, as required by the town's stormwater ordinance. And stormwater will outlet to the ditch along Broadway. Right-of-way drainage will also need NDOT approval. Since this was a former gas station site. Some of you may be wondering if there are any environmental issues on the property. The site was formerly used as a gas station, as I mentioned. A phase 1 environmental study was conducted in association with this project. A leaking petroleum tank was found in 1993, but has since been removed, and the site has been cleared per the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, IDEM, and no further study or action is needed per that phase 1 report. In terms of parking, they are providing 6 spaces plus 1 ADA space, which would put it at 7 spaces. The non-ADA spaces are 10 by 20 as required, and the parking lot is curbed as required. The parking aisle is 24 feet wide. And again, the building is only 884 square feet, drive-through only. So the amount of parking that they're providing is more than adequate. In terms of screening on the project, the dumpster will be along Old State Road 67. And it'll contain a screen wall, a gate, and landscaping. No buffer yards are required because we've got the same commercial zoning adjacent to it. And then parking lot screening would be provided in the form of landscaping. And if we take a look here at the concept landscape plan, this was the actual layout is based on a slightly earlier version of the site plan. This would be refined as part of the final landscape plan, but you can see that the variety of trees on the property, landscaping, shrubbery, things of that nature. We do have a minor condition of approval that I'm suggesting as part of parking lot screening. We'll get into that at the end. But simply put, trees and shrubs are being provided in accordance with the commercial landscaping requirements of the town, and no invasive species are being used. If we take a look at the concept elevations and the lighting, you can see here, this is pretty similar to the typical prototype that Scooters has been using around the country. And if we analyze it further, to give you an overview, the building height is 19 feet. That, of course, is well under the maximum of 45 feet that's allowed for the zoning district. The roof mounted mechanical units would be screened by a parapet wall. In terms of the building materials, they're using hardy plank siding, which would include lap siding and reveal panels. And as you saw, it features an angled roof line. And then lastly, in terms of lighting, all new building mounted lights are shielded and pointed downward, and no parking lot lights will be provided. This here is an actual photo. I'm not sure where this was taken, but as you can see, the building would look fairly similar to this. In terms of public comments, we're not aware of any remonstrance on the project, and all public hearing requirements were completed, included a sign posting, a mailing, a newspaper publication, a Greenfield Reporter. So lastly, with that, my recommendation would be to approve the following with one condition: approve the concept site plan, concept landscape, with the condition that a continuous landscape screen shall be provided along the parking lot drive-through lane along Broadway. Right now, they've got it in some clusters. We just want to make sure that those gaps are filled in accordance with the requirements of the town. And then approve the concept building elevations / lighting. And the next steps are, if this is approved, the engineer would file final civil construction plans, site work, when they're ready. And of course, they'd be based on these approved concept plans. And they'd also have to submit final building plans for permitting. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to address those. And I know that the franchisee is here as well. Thank you.
Any questions for Adam before we move on to the petitioner?
Yeah. Adam, so the entryway there onto Broadway Street, I don't see any problems at all going out of town to the west, do we anticipate any concerns with traffic stopping there to turn left across traffic into the system, since that's kind of right where, traffic starts to slow down? It's still going pretty fast there. Do we see any
Sure.
concerns there or anything that needs to be addressed?
That's a good question. I would say that it's entirely up to NDOT as to what they'd like to do. If they need a right-in turn lane. I would note that the speed limit on that stretch is 40. And so at 40 miles an hour, you could put a right lane in, but there are also times when it's not completely essential. So it could go either way. It's probably on the border of a speed limit.
But NDOT will take a look at that. It's not
Yes,
something we have-
yeah, as part of their right-of-way permit.
I've got a question along with that. How far down, and I know it's not in yet, the road diet that is going to be on Broadway, will that extend down and encompass this site? Or
No.
No, it will not. Okay.
The road diet won't begin until Garter Street and Broadway, so up near the used car
Yep.
dealership.
Okay,
I have a question.
One other
Sorry.
quick thing I want to mention just about access to is NDOT will probably take a look at if there's a center turn lane on Broadway right now that'll be extended, a center left turn lane to go into BP if you're heading from McCordsville. And I'm sure NDOT will look at to see if it makes sense to extend that further so that there's a protected left to get into the site. So don't know the answer to that yet. I'm sorry, you had a question?
Yeah, the current building that's on the property is being demolished, correct?
Yes.
There's been no concerns of historical significance attributed to it.
No.
Okay.
I do have one thing when you're talking about adding that recommended language. Would it be too out of order to not just say provide a landscape, but to provide and duly maintain it? Because right now the property next to it, the site, the whatever that gravel site and what's going to be the storage site has all those dead trees along it that we're still waiting on the person to replace.
Mhm.
I'd like to prevent that in the future with this.
Sure. I wouldn't, from a staff perspective, I wouldn't have any objections to that. And let me just point out on the concept plan, if you can follow the cursor there, basically this area over here is where I think based on the ordinance, we just want to see more of a continuous amount of trees over here to screen that, which of course is very typical in most suburban Indianapolis communities anyway. No different here.
Is there a height on the shrubs or?
No, as long as they're planted with standard nursery guidelines and standard nursery height, usually 3 to 4 feet is what we would expect to form that continuous parking lot screen. And of course, it's mainly for, in this particular case, it's mainly for aesthetic issues. Sometimes it can help to reduce headlights going out onto other properties, but not as big of an issue in this area.
Adam, can you, excuse me, can you thumb to Joe's pretty drawing real quick, please? Is the intent, can you just, again, the intent on Old State Road 67, so it does not connect to Garden Vitality 1000 North. It just is a connection between the two sites, correct?
Correct.
And there's some town utilities, there's some interest in maintaining it, but we don't expect it to be used frequently. It should be a pretty low volume usage, but there's some connection, some back frontage.
That's correct.
Okay.
And honestly, we had gone back and forth on would it make sense to get rid of it altogether? Would it make sense to keep it and who would own it? So we had a lot of discussions with the applicant too. And in the end, we decided from a staff perspective that we really wanted to continue that secondary access that BP is really already building. And then also to have good access for us to the water. And I think there's a sewer line back there as well.
Okay.
So what they'll be doing is a mill and overlay of that portion, kind of where I'll put the cursor over here.
Mhm.
And then the portion that would cross over here, scooters would set up a public access easement for that piece.
Okay.
And I believe the town would plow the whole thing. Yeah, town would plow Old State Road 67 and then this particular area here too.
Okay. And then one last question on drainage. We're showing curb here. I'm trying to remember with the BP site, a trunk line was specified, right? Are we extending the trunk line or is this dropping into an inlet? I don't see any inlets, and that may be something we get into with the NDOT permit, but that's something I want to just.
Yeah, that's a
thinking
good
about.
question. Good comment. I honestly, I can't remember if we were relying on just the ditch or if
Maybe we had curb turnouts that.
there might be
inletted
curb
in.
turnouts, but
Okay.
we'll definitely, the bottom line
get to
is,
that.
yeah, as part of NDOT's review and as part of the final review, we'll make sure that it's consistent with what we're doing. The
Directly to the
BP
east. Yeah.
next door.
Adam, I want to jump back to that condition that you were talking about. You said continuous shrubbery along which edges again? Did you suggest?
Just along Broadway.
Just along Broadway. Okay. All right.
I mean, certainly somebody could make the case along Old State Road 67 because it's a public street, but it
Yeah,
functions
who's
as an
back there,
alley.
right?
Yeah, that seemed.
Okay.
Yeah. Seemed unnecessary to me.
Any other questions from the board at this time?
No sidewalks out there.
Very
BP.
limited. So,
Like BP has sidewalks.
yeah, so BP has a path. So it'll be, I think, an 8-foot wide path, maybe 8 or 10. And we had talked about at first of just extending this path all the way along the frontage. But we talked to the applicant, we thought about it internally, and we just don't see the path continuing anywhere beyond that on that side of Broadway along the railroad track. So of course, as a planner, we typically always want sidewalks or paths everywhere where we can get them. In this particular case, it just seemed like an unnecessary expense. And so, however, we wanted to make sure that if somebody rides their bike or, employees riding their bike or walking, that they can still get from this building out to our system. So they are building a little bit of pavement and we'll connect it that way.
And that will hook to BP's.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments for Adam? All right, I'd like to invite the petitioner to come up and offer any other insight that they'd like to put on public record. If you'd like to, please come up to the microphone, state and spell your name, please.
Good evening, Dave
Yes, please.
CONNAAY
Yeah, so, thank you for expecting to be here. Be here in Fortville. Anything further for the public record is that it is the franchise, franchisees to own and operate. So we're clearly 10 minutes north of here. We're actually from along where that's where we came in for scooters, and watched a lot of it grow. And one of the things we wanted to do is open this business. My son over Nick is 18, graduating from 2018, so he'll be working there as well. So I'm excited about that, and that's my sister. She'll be working there. But Scooters is a great company, and one of the things they like is to be involved in the community. and make sure that, we're supporting a lot of the different community things and participating and hiring local people. So we're going to continue in that legacy. And so I'm just excited. And thank you. Jalen, is there anything that you want to say? Or?
Hi, this is Jalen Garza. I'm a pre-development manager on behalf of Scooters Coffee, and I just want to express thanks for allowing us to come and have this opportunity to present our site plan and to have the opportunity to possibly open up another Scooters here in Fortville. Our goal is to partner with the community to not only sell coffee, but to uplift the community and be a partner in this. So thanks again for the opportunity, and look forward to hopefully moving forward with this project and working with the town of Fortville. So thank you all.
Questions? Or?
I've
Yeah,
got-
absolutely.
Yeah, I've got a question. And again, it's just clarification. So never heard of Scooters before, but that doesn't mean anything. There's a lot of things I haven't heard of. Is it just coffee? I mean, what all do you typically serve? I mean, I've just never heard of them.
Wide varieties.
Okay.
We have a breakfast menu. We have like
Oh.
bagel sandwiches, burritos, like a waffle sandwich. And then we also have smoothies, Red Bull drinks, coffee, hot chocolate. I think they're doing lemonade, tea. We have a wide variety for people. I mean, so all day long, you know, kids gotta go to practice, then they can go grab a smoothie before.
That was my next question. What hours is typically is this? I mean, is it throughout the day? Yeah, sure. I'm just curious.
To 7 or 8 p.m.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
Still getting drinks and food.
Yeah. And then is this just a drive up or is there also in dining or
Just a drive-through only.
drive-through?
However,
Oh, okay.
and we need to, they can come up and pick up, or we can come out.
Okay.
That was going to be my question. If this is drive up only, what are the parking spaces for? Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kids with disabilities. I want to be able to have them come in and help work. And if they do, they might have job coaches, so we might need the extra parking spot at that time to help. So, you know.
Any other questions for the petitioner at this time?
I don't think so.
All right, thank you. We might invite you back up, but I don't know that we've got any public comments, so maybe quick. At this time, I would like to invite any public comment for or against the proposal. It does not look like there's anybody here or on Zoom. But we can note that we offered it. And next I'll move to public officials. Any comment? Shaking head, no.
Excited. Good.
I'll admit, they kind of had me at waffle sandwich.
All right, with that, any other last minute comments from the commission?
Only that I'd still like to add that language to the addendum like Adam was saying, but beyond that.
Sure.
Good to go.
So in that case, I'll look for a motion.
I motion to add Adam's language to the provision, but to also include provide and usually maintain the landscaping around that facility to the proposition.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I don't know if we might need to add in that motion that it's to approve the concept plan, the landscape plan, and the elevation light plan. Do we need to add that verbiage in there as well?
I thought we would do that separately.
Or you want to,
But-
So all we're showing on here is a site plan. Do we need to do a separate site plan, elevation, landscape plan and elevation?
I think you could do it all as one motion.
Okay.
Okay.
Then I amend the motion to include the site plan and the elevation plan along with it.
Okay, a second.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
I,
All those against? Those abstain? Aye. Due to that's approval.
right,
All right. With that, I would actually like to move back to item number 4. For back to old business. I'd like the commission to consider approving the minutes for the December 22 meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes?
I make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes of December 2022.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, motion carries. Lastly, we will move to any board comments for the evening.
I would just like to say, welcome to the neighborhood, guys. I don't know a whole lot about selling coffee, and I know that we've had some businesses that struggled a little bit with that, but I really love seeing new stuff come in. I really love the idea of seeing something go in right there. And I sincerely hope you are as successful as you hope to be.
All right, with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, let's roll. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Jalen.
Go work out.